Hi everybody, Don here again. The weather looks like it's going to be pretty crappy this weekend. I was hoping to get out shed hunting again with my neighbor, but all this ice we got this week up high at the high elevations where we wanted to go looking for some moose sheds, I think it's going to be a little treacherous, especially for the dogs. So I think we're going to pass on that, or unless the weather changes dramatically. But I thought what I'd do this week is tell you guys about my 2017 Iowa bow hunt. Iowa is a place that I've dreamed about for years. You know, it's the land of the giants as far as bucks go. And I have a really good friend and co-worker. His name is Brett Randall. He and his father-in-law, Scott Taylor, have got about, 3,000 acres of land probably between south central Iowa and north central Missouri. Beautiful farmland that they either own or lease. Most of it's owned. And they have started an outfitting service called Oxbow Ridge Outfitters. It's a phenomenal place. And it's good to be friends with a guy who's an outfitter. So I went out there this year after applying for the lottery for this was the 5th year for me, actually. Generally with Iowa, it's a draw permit. In this zone, which is zone 4, you apply and you get rejected and you earn a point. And after you've earned 3 points, usually on the 4th time you apply, you'll get drawn. I missed a year, inadvertently forgot to put in my application. So it took me 5 years, but it was well worth it. So I bow hunted in Iowa, and my longtime hunting partner Franny Heath came over, and he gun hunted in Missouri at the same time. Missouri is an over-the-counter tag. So I'm going to put a link down below to Oxbow Ridge Outfitters, and if you want to hunt in a place in either Missouri, you can buy a tag over the counter for both the archery and the rifle season. Or if you want to put in the time and put in the applications to get Iowa, you can't go wrong with my buddy Brett and his father-in-law's place. It's top notch. So I'll put that in there, and we'll be back in just a second, and I'll talk a little bit more about the hunt. So hunting in Iowa was something special for me, but it was long before I even thought about doing this YouTube thing. So I didn't really have a camera or record it, much of the events that were happening out there, other than, a few pictures that we took of what we got, and a few things like that. However, I did have this Tactacam on my bow. Tactacam is kind of like a GoPro, but it's made specifically for gun hunters and archery hunters. It fits right in the stabilizer of your bow, and there it is. It's a digital camera with a little on-off button up here, and it points where your bow is pointing. So when you're drawn down on the bow, on a deer, and your bow is pointed in that direction, so is the camera. So it's pretty cool in that regard. A couple of things about it that were problematic. The little white button on the top, you hold that, it vibrates, and the camera is on. There's a green light underneath that button, but in the daylight, you cannot see it. And so there was a lot of times when I thought the camera was on, but it was paused. And there were times when I thought it was off, and it was running, taking pictures of whatever. It was hanging in a stand. It was taking pictures of foliage. So I missed a lot of good shots, but I got a lot of good shots, and fortunately enough, I did get the sequence leading up to the deer I ended up shooting. I did get that on video, so that was very cool. I understand that the new Generation 2 camera that has come out, the Tactacam that come out, has a lot better definition on whether it's on or off, so it should be a lot easier to use. I don't know if I'll invest in one. They're not too pricey. They're around $300. I think the Generation 2 is a little bit more than that. But what I'm going to show you in this video is some clips from when I was in different tree stands, and deer that I had passed up, that walked in front of me, that walked underneath my tree stand. And I'll try to narrate a little bit over those video clips as they're playing. But I got some pretty neat footage, and I saw a ton of deer while I was out there. I learned more about at least Midwestern deer behavior because it's a totally different animal out there than it is here in the big woods of New Hampshire. I mean, here, oftentimes you're lucky to see a buck in the course of a season. Out there, I saw in 6 days, I saw over 50 bucks, and probably 10 of them were big shooter bucks or more that either didn't come in range or I hate to say it, but I missed a couple of bucks, and the buck I ended up taking was by no means an Iowa Giant, but it was my first buck with a bow, and so even though it's not a big buck, it's extremely special to me. So. So, the other thing that made this trip so special was that I was out hunting with my longtime hunting partner, Franny Heath. Franny turned 81 last year, and I can only hope and pray that I'm still able to get out in the woods and hunt when I'm 81. But he's a special cat, and I love him. We had a great trip. We've been on, God, I don't know, probably 8 or 9, maybe 10 out-of-state hunts together over the last 20 years, and this one was as special as any of them. He shot a nice buck in Missouri, a 10-pointer. I'll show you a couple pictures of that in this. On Monday, actually, we got there on a Saturday, and on Monday he was tagged out. I held out for the Iowa Giant that I was after until Thursday, and then after having missed 2 really beautiful bucks, and thank God both of them were clean misses, unfortunately, I got a little excited when I was trying to get these bucks on film, and technical error, operator error, I didn't get any of those big bucks on film. On a couple of them, I was just more interested in trying to get a shot, so I didn't even mess with the camera. And on a couple of them, I had operator error. So luckily, you know, Franny got a nice buck on Thursday. I decided, you know what, last set of the week for me. If a decent buck, a rack buck, comes in range, I'm going to take it. And as you'll see in the video, he's not a giant, but he turned out being a nice 9-point buck. Extremely happy with him because he was my first buck with the bow. So, you know, it was just a blast of a trip. Can't wait this year. In 2018, my buddy Bobby Weeks and I are going down to hunt the Missouri season, rifle season. You can hunt any weapon during the rifle season, so I may take my bow. But he's got some big fields, some big bean fields down in Missouri, where you can get a pretty long shot. So I may take my rifle. I will take my rifle, but I may just use my rifle instead. I'm really hooked on bow hunting, though. I've been bow hunting for 20 years, and then maybe a little bit more than that. Seriously for the last 4 or 5 years, and all I've taken up to this point until this year were does. So getting my first buck was really a special treat, and it made this year just all the more better with having taken my first muzzleloader buck, and that being the biggest buck I've ever taken here in New Hampshire. So 2017 was a phenomenal year. I'm looking forward to 2018 also being a phenomenal year. Hopefully this lung thing is out of my system and I'll be able to get out and beat the woods a lot more this year than I did last year. There's still some big bucks that I know of running around this neck of the woods. The pig was not the only one, and hopefully I'll be able to chase them. And I will hold out for a bigger buck in Missouri in 2018 than the one I shot in Iowa. Well, that last little clip was the kill shot on that Iowa buck, and you know, I got to tell you, after missing 2 big Iowa bruisers by misjudging the distance, my confidence level was not very high. So when that buck came up that trail, I knew there was no way I was going to pass up that shot. And because I knew exactly how far he was going to be when he hit the spot where he was at. If you look at that video again and count it out, from the time my arrow impacted that deer and he spun, by the time I put the camera back on him, and you could see him fall dead back in the woods there, was a total of 7 seconds. So, you know, as a bow hunter, that's what you hope for. You want to put the arrow in the Boilermaker and make a good, clean, humane kill, and that's what I got, and that made it all the more special. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I hope you enjoyed this little video as much as I enjoyed telling it to you, because that was a hunt I'll never forget. So we'll see you on the next one. Take care.